I'm gonna see if I can hop on the Zoom with my phone and then share some pictures because it was very cool to see.
I think that's one of the best things about these knit-alongs is seeing what other people choose. The other thing is I don't even own size 5 knit needles, so I got to come and get some.
Of course, we'll always ship them, you know this, but we do love to see you in the shop.
Well, I love to see the shop. I mean, I've been in there once since you moved, and once is not enough.
Well, that's what we feel like.
Mm-hmm. It's such a beautiful space. It's so light. And
we are so super happy with that. Okay.
Has anyone gotten to their sleeves yet?
Yeah, what's going on?
I feel so much better now.
oh no, I'm way behind. I've had to restart it a couple of times, and I've never made a sweater before. I mean, I can make a scarf with well, not this one we're doing next, but I can make a scarf with the best of them. But so I have had to learn so much, and that's been great. I have loved that.
Good for you.
I can now do a make one right and a make one left without having to look it up.
I have to say, after all these years, I still have a cheat on the top of every page of every pattern I have.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Tracy, who works at the shop, she just sent me a link to an Etsy account where they had made these adorable little stitch markers that were like, make one right means you know, come from the back, knit into the front. And it was like really small. And I thought, oh my word, if only we had been selling these for the Ramona knit along.
Well, they're in the next one too, so I don't think it's too late. So
yeah, I know. Okay, I'm gonna see if I'm gonna try to do something crazy and see if I can share. Like, I don't want to share all my photos because then you'll see all sorts of nonsense that you don't care about. But where are those? But it's gonna let me. Okay.
how do you decide what to do for a knit along? You know, what the project will be?
Oh my gosh, I think this is gonna work. Let's see, is it going to work? It says I'm screen sharing, but oh, there we go.
There you are. Oh, that's pretty.
That is
So
pretty.
that is Becca and her beautiful neutrals, grays, and then her next one, and let's see if I can swipe. Yes, this is her palette for the next one. And notice that little cake is a skein that she had, that was a hand spun that she got at a festival or fair, and then she bought through the 3 other colors that you're seeing in Patagonia to kind of match that thickness. And she chose 4 colors. The pattern only calls 3, but like we've been talking about, it's really up to your choice, anybody's choice. Now let's see, can I go the other way? Nope. Okay, just those 2. Okay, well then that's fine. How do we choose what's going to be our knit along? Great question. Kristen and I mean, the Ramona was our first one, so it was really a test balloon. That seems to take on some weird connotations given the recent news events. We'll just call it an experiment instead. That's a little less charged. And you know, we were thinking about a pattern that could appeal to lots of knitters. We were thinking about a pattern that we knew was a well-written pattern, a high-quality pattern, well edited. And on top of that, you know, Elizabeth being a main designer was great. I loved how many resources, as we've mentioned in previous Zooms, like how many resources she provides.
Absolutely.
And I really felt like it was so important to honor choice. So I love the idea that you could choose your pullover, your cardigans in different weights, that you could have some customization in that pullover seemed really smart, because I mean, as Chris, one of our conversations was, we have to have something that's going to look great on different bodies, that different people are going to want. And I think it's been a success, in part because it sort of fits that wardrobe staple.
Yes.
You know, who doesn't need another pullover, or, you know, yeah. So those are some criteria. And then as we were talking about what this next one was going to be, in that conversation, we kind of hit upon wardrobe staple as kind of, oh, right, that's a good criteria to think about. And, you know, small cowl could feel like it could fit into some different environments, different seasons. In Maine, of course, we wear wools all year round. And loved, again, that Andrea Mowry, Maine designer, she's got so many cool patterns and designs out there, and she hosts a knitting podcast weekly. And yeah, so that was, and also we thought, you know, maybe having a shorter project, you know, on the heels of the Ramona, where it's a pretty beefy project, that could be some good variety. And we talked actually also about, you know, just some knit-alongs are more restrictive, and, you know, well, you have to know how to do X, Y, or Z if you want to join, and, you know, there's a fee to participate. And so we've been talking about, like, you know, what does that mean, and can, you know, considering options. And at least for now, it seems like having the most inclusive kind of spirit that we've been going for, trying to reach lots of different segments, and find some designs that will work for people, and then make it accessible. I mean, it's expensive enough to buy yarn, but from our perspective too, it feels like we're really expanding our knitting community, and that's really valuable for the business, from the business end of things. So yeah, all of that.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. I'm way behind, I think, but I'm just so thrilled at how much I've learned, how far I've come.
So tell us where you're at these days in your Ramona.
I got through all of the make ones, and I've gotten through the cast on. That's next. Now I'm at that part where you're supposed to maybe break off the yarn, but then some people said you don't have to break off the yarn, and so I'm trying to work my brain through that part. I can't wait to get to knitting the body, where I could just like, you know, but you know, I've put so much love and energy into it. I kind of want to be able to wear it when I'm done, so I don't want it to look weird.
Yeah.
Weird. But
yeah, great.
So
Plus that gorgeous color.
Oh, I love the color. And I just haven't been able to work through that to my satisfaction.
I made a sweater last summer, and I showed the gals, the goat group that meets at Rockport Harbor. And so I showed them and said, you'll never see it again, because I had several mistakes in it. So I'm calling it Never Off the Porch, because I'm never going to wear it off the porch. I am telling you, I wear that sweater more than anything else, and I wear it everywhere.
And what was the design for that one, Melissa?
I think it was called the Easy Peasy. Let me look it up. But I have now forgotten where the mistakes were, so I don't care.
That's great. Well, and like the mistakes that are so evident to our own eyes, nobody else is going to see it, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to look up while Melissa is looking for hers. I'm going to show you a couple of combinations of yarns for your inspiration that we've been helping people find for their shift cowls. Let's see. So these were a couple of the ones that, oh gosh, there's so many good ones. Oh my God. We will see if I start here, how that will go. We had some people taking some really interesting color risks, which I thought was so fun to see.
Ooh, wow.
This person who picked this yarn, her Ramona is knit in Chris. It's a beautiful blue, and she was starting her color thoughts with something, you know, kind of like a little bit tame. And then she grabbed those 2 balls of Kathmandu, and that's the fingering Kathmandu, and she just was like, oh my God, I love these. And she sort of turned around and picked this like hot lime. And I'm thinking to myself, you go with that. That's going to be a fantastically vibrant combo. And it's going to look great with her Ramona as well. And then let's see, can I share another one? Will it go to the next?
I love the Kathmandu that I'm working with. I haven't used the fingering.
Yeah, totally. Oh, this is so annoying on my phone. It's like not letting me go to the next picture. Oh, golly. I really have to stop sharing and start sharing again. How irritating. Okay, this was another really beautiful combo. This gal isn't that fun? So those are, let's see, it looks like two Machida and 1 Malabrigo sock. The rainbow is the sock, and then the others are Machida. And she had grabbed, I think, that sock yarn first. What we were telling people is, you know, find a skein that you really, really love, and then we'll build the rest of it around it. And so she grabbed that rainbow. Then she liked the cream, and she was thinking about how that would look. And she was really struggling with what was going to be that third color. And I don't know, it's a little bit more, slightly more green, but it's almost like a beautiful sea glass. And that combination was so, so pretty. And she was really excited because I think the green sort of was like a surprise, but she's also, it's the kind of pattern that's sort of exciting to see how the colors play with each other. Let's see. Okay, still not letting me just swipe to the next picture, but okay. I'm going to show you just like one more, and then we'll be done with our color therapy for the day. I'm going to do, I think we don't want to overwhelm people with too many like, and now the next knit along, but we'll definitely do a post with some pictures. So, oh my gosh, here's this lovely person who, look at her coat. It's perfect, right? She's got this coat in the orange and the pink, and she starts picking colors. And I'm like, you're picking the perfect cowl to match what you're wearing today. She's like, oh my gosh, I totally am. So she's got a skein of the Kathmandu fingering at right, that beautiful fuchsia. She has a skein in the middle of the fully spun marled. And I just thought that was a beautiful combo. And then she was kind of looking for what's the third, and she found that gorgeous nimble sock by On the Round, in that kind of a little towards orangish, reddish, but yeah. All right, so let's hear from some other knitters. Teresa, you want to fill us in on what's been happening with your Ramona?
Yeah, so I finished the first sleeve and I'm just starting the second now. So
wonderful.
Making progress.
Yes.
May I ask, how many skeins did you, or how many yards did you use for a sleeve? Do you know?
I used probably half a skein, but my skeins are like really big. I forget what the yardage is.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you worried you're not going to have enough, Melissa?
Well, I bought 2 more skeins about a week after I got my initial, and it was mailed to me, and I had a friend pick it up, and so I won't be doing my sleeves until I get back to Maine. And that's okay. I just am hoping I have enough, but I think I've decided, after looking at lots of pictures of Ramona that I want to add the contrasting color to the edge of the front and down and along the bottom.
So like the button band and then the bottom band?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So so I have the dark yarn that I'm using, and I think I'm going to use white to edge it.
Love that. Great. And so when do you return to Maine?
We usually get there by May 1st. Certainly no
Nice.
later than Cinco de Mayo, but I'm having knee replacement May 1st. So I
Oh.
probably won't get up there until the beginning of July.
Okay. All right. Well, that doesn't sound very fun at all, the knee replacement.
Oh, it's wonderful. I've waited years and
Oh,
I have to
good.
have both replaced. And so, yeah, it's a good thing. It really
It's a
is.
good thing. Okay, good. Well, I hope that goes really well for you.
And I just wanted to say it is the Easy Eyelet Yoke Light.
Okay.
And let's see if
Oh.
I can,
Yeah.
except I made long sleeves instead of
Okay.
short sleeves.
Nice.
But it's really called Never Off the Porch sweater.
That is a good pattern name. You might have to do something with that pattern name. Well, so Teresa, you're on second sleeve, great. And Lucy has a finished Ramona, which we put in the email, so that's
saw it.
super awesome. Looks so good. Are you happy with the fit?
Yes, and I just less than 15 minutes ago joined in the round for a second Ramona. But this time I'm trying the size 46
Okay.
and hoping that when it blocks, because the other Ramona had a little bit of give, that this one might give just a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and it would kind of get to the size that the first Ramona was before I blocked it.
I gotcha. So tell me your yarn, Lucy. Remind me. Was it Kathmandu?
The first one was Kathmandu. The second one is, hang on. Oh, they're round. What is it?
Rocky.
Second one is the Santa Cruz Organic
Okay.
Merino in Driftwood.
Nice. So that's interesting. So you felt like the Kathmandu blocked out bigger than you were expecting.
A little bit bigger, yes.
I feel like this experience has taught me that I think I'm going to be more diligent about taking a before blocking measurement of my swatch and then an after blocking measurement of my swatch. And in fact, I think I should probably, if the garment calls for ribbing, maybe even do some ribbing on a swatch just to see how that plays out, because I felt like with my La Pampa, which is, you know, bigger sister of the Santa Cruz, that there was quite a bit of blocking relaxation, which was good. But it led me to believe I needed a wider button band when I did not need a wider button band. So I ended up having to redo my button band, and now it's fine. But it's just interesting how wool behaves, isn't it? Different fibers.
Yeah, I thought once I get to divide for the sleeves, which won't involve an extraordinary amount of knitting, I'll try it on and see how it fits around the chest.
Yeah.
And if it feels too snug, then I'll rip it back and go back to the original size.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I'm willing to play like this, but I am right now.
I love it. And so the color of your Santa Cruz is driftwood. Is that the sort of warm, heathery, light brown? Yes, that's the one I was picturing. I love that color. Oh,
So I thought with the blue Ramona and this Ramona, I'd be set.
you've got your colorful and you've got your neutral.
I'd be set.
That's
Yep.
awesome. Fantastic. I love that you're playing with the sizing piece too. It's great.
Yeah, I had, it was a baby cocktail sweater and I had stash yarn and I had started, it was one of those works in progress for quite a while.
Yep.
And I made that as a 48
Mm,
and it was bulky. I think it might've been on 8 needles
okay.
and that blocked out fine.
Mm, mm-hmm.
So I think I'm more willing to give this one a try. I don't know if I do it with fingering weight yarn. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on a Sophie scarf. I'm working on the shift knit, my shift for the next knit along, but I'm kind of wanting to slow down. It goes so quickly and it's so fun. I'm slowing down so that I can take a few videos for that one to get ready for the next knit along. But I've been working on this Sophie scarf in this brilliant emerald for a dear friend. And I've just been having the devil of a time trying to get the right needle size. I was using a 4 because that's what the pattern called for, and it was really coming out tiny. And so Kristen was like, that's really little. That's going to be too small. And so then I went up actually 3 needle sizes, too big. I should have just gone up 2, but I'm on a 6 now, and her birthday's next week, so I'm hoping I can crank this little baby out, and it's a fast knit, so that'll be good. And then I really want to knit a Sophie for myself too. I have a beautiful plum for that. I have so many projects. So great. Mary Ellen, how are you? How's your Ramona coming?
I'm fine. My Ramona, on the first sleeve. I mean,
Okay.
then I just have to do the second sleeve. The rest is done. I tried it. It fits really well, and I might not block it. If it fits me good enough, I'll run some steam over it,
Yeah.
you know, and that
Yep.
let it go.
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh, that's so great.
So we'll see, but I'm getting there. And then I pulled some things from my stash for the other one.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you can see or where I need to hold it.
Uh-huh. A nice sort of like, is that a teal?
Yeah. And this is it's coming up whitish, but it's green.
Green, light green.
And it is
Ooh.
variegated.
Yeah, nice.
And then this I've had for eons. Again, these colors aren't coming up that well.
It's hard. It's hard on the Zoom lighting, but oh my gosh, I think that's going to be gorgeous.
There, that's better. How's that?
Yeah, it's good. What color are you thinking for your backgrounds?
Well, I don't know because I don't, I guess maybe this one.
Yeah.
I really didn't read the whole pattern through. Is there one that's more predominant and that's the background?
It's really interesting. On the one that I'm making, because I'm using a dark blue, kind of it's a nimble sock from On the Round. It's sort of a teal, light teal, and then a kind of rainbowy one from Machida. And I use the dark blue as my background, and I thought like dark blue is going to be dominant. And I don't know, there's something about that teal, which I love all of the colors. So I was sort of like, I don't know how this is going to look. It's just going to be a fun adventure. And I kind of feel like the light teal is a little dominant, even though it's one of those little flecky colors. And then now the really fun part is I'm at the part in the pattern where, and I'm going to do a little video tutorial all about this, but you start with, you've got your background color, and then you have the little blips of color B. And then you continue with the background color, then you've got a section where your little blips of the color C, and you sort of alternate that way. And then at a certain point, you actually leave the background color behind and you use the colors B and C. So now you kind of moved away from that background and into something new. And so that's turned out to be really fun and interesting because I'm using my rainbowy one for the background and that teal is staying. And so just like, it's very like,
Mhm.
I don't know, it's just cool. I feel like you can't go wrong. If you have 3 colors of yarn that you really like, it's going to do some cool things in your hands, and you have the latitude once you kind of figure out what the pattern is looking like, and like how it's playing out with these segments. You could totally go off the book and, oh, I want another segment of this one. I'm loving this combo. And that's definitely the one that we have as the shop sample with the 5 colors. That's not what the pattern's calling for, but it totally works. It's very interesting. So fun.
I wish I could just go into the shop and buy things, but I can't because I live too far away.
Too far away. Yeah. Well, we were thinking for this one, we might have to like offer to some people who can't get to us, like maybe we could FaceTime, or maybe we could take pictures with the shop phone and send a couple of combos to people.
You
As
should
an
do some
option.
do some virtual shopping.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that would work.
I just took the images from the listings and threw them in PowerPoint to see how things looked together.
Amazing. I love it. Oh, that's really cool. So you like took the images off the website and put them like on a slide next to each other. I've been thinking if there's somebody out there that wants to build an app for me that could be like an add-on to my browser. So if I'm on a page where there's lots of colors of yarn on there, I can click like bloop, bloop, bloop and see them next to each other. But that's a really good idea. I might suggest that to people who are considering their colors too. Great thought.
I might have to make that app now.
Yes, please. Are you a coder?
Yeah, I'm a software developer, so I could
Good.
definitely do that.
Perfect. Take the idea and run with it. Oh my God, all the knitters would be so happy because half the time I'm like scrolling down and I'm like, okay, I like that one. And then I'm like, okay, but I want to see it next to the one that I want to see it next to. So yes, build it. If you build it, I will pay.
Does the next knit along, does that pattern end by doing the Kitchener stitch? Stitching it together?
I believe, I'm not sure. Actually, I haven't read that far if it's Kitchener or mattress, but
Oh, okay.
yeah. I think it's mattress because you don't have live edge stitches.
Oh, all right.
I have the pattern right here. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so under finishing.
Weave in your ends except the long tail left for seaming and wet block to schematic dimensions on page 9.
Okay.
Okay, once your cowl is dry, seam your 2 non-I-cord edges together with right side spacing using the mattress stitch.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Mhm.
don't know that one, so that's good. I get to learn something new.
Mhm. Well, this weekend there is a Fiberside chat with one of the Barocco designers. And I saw her talking on a Zoom where she was sharing, and it was sort of like a Barocco, what's coming for spring yarns kind of a Zoom. And she was really interesting to listen to. So I'm going to try to catch that one, I think.
May I ask everybody a question back to the sleeves. I've done several sweaters, and I have really fat arms, so that's why I'm not sure how pertinent this is. But I many times have snug arms, even though I'm following. And I just read somewhere that if you are knitting your sleeves in the round, which I do on size 13 or 9 or 13 needles, that you should go up a size, so that because you are not purling, when you're knitting and purling, it makes it a little looser. And if you're just knitting in the round, it's going to be tighter. Does anybody know about this?
Well, Kinder was the one who tipped me off to this, and I think I included in one of the emails. She was kind enough to give me a little rundown. And her point was, you know, we swatch in the flat for a cardigan, but then you get to your arms and it's a whole different ball game. And I was like, oh my God, yes, you're so right. And thankfully for my sleeves, it turned out okay. But I think I might, that's another one of my big takeaways here. I think I might consider doing a second gauge swatch in the round if I do another cardigan, if it's a different yarn that I'm not sure about. But yeah, one of the things that we talked about was, well, you could do a second gauge swatch in the round, and or because you might have to go up a needle size, like you're saying, you know, it's hard to know, but if you also know that your arms, you know, have a larger circumference, you could also think about, because I think that the sleeves, it's not that it's like a snug, it's a slimmer fit sleeve. So you might want to, I would say, try your sleeve on as you're going along. You know, maybe you want to do slower decreases. Maybe you want to do longer portion of just knitting straight and not doing any decreases. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I did. I have kind of fat arms and then tiny wrists, so I had to keep trying on the first sleeve I did and writing down what I was doing.
Thank you.
Melissa, you weren't here, I don't think, maybe last week, but I mentioned that Barbara Powell, she watched, because I actually forgot to upload last week's Zoom. I need to do that. But because Kristen said, oh, you know, you should upload these Zoom recordings. And I thought, like, who's gonna watch these Zoom, like, ladies just sitting around knitting and chatting? And she said, well, just try it. Well, sure enough, Barbara Powell watched the Zoom and you were on it, Melissa, from a few weeks ago. And she was like, I saw my friend Melissa on the Zoom. It was so fun to see her. And I thought, well, Kristen was right. This is kind of cool.
And that's funny. I just saw her picture on the Facebook page and the email. And yes, it was good to see her smiling face. And her Ramona turned out beautiful.
Didn't it? Yeah. I love that.
So thank you.
Yeah. I was just kind of nerding out today because I was listening to a little sample of a book called The World, A Brief History of the World According to Sheep. I don't know if anybody is familiar. A knitting friend recommended it to me, and I don't know, just kind of like tootling around, and I was knitting, so I thought, oh, I'll just play the Audible sample that you get. And like, I think I might have to buy that. And I like to have a little bit of an audiobook. Sometimes I don't want to watch something, I just want to like knit and listen. And so I was thinking that could be kind of a fun one. The section I was listening to was, it was only 5 minutes, but they were talking about the domestication of sheep. And one of the interesting points that I'm remembering is they were saying, we always think like, oh, it was somebody who managed to catch a wild sheep and then like tethered it outside of their mud hut or whatever they were living in as the first way to domesticate an animal. And then another theory apparently is that, if you watch how dogs would work together to herd sheep, that might have given an early person an idea that, well, if the dogs can do it, maybe we should think about doing it. And so I was like, whoa, never considered that it could be humans observing other animals that could have led to this. But yeah, the more you know, right?
I saw that you filled up the knitting cruise.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Cool.
I know. Hopefully we'll get another, maybe one or two of those sunset knitting cruises that we do. That's just, a couple hours on an evening in the summer, because those are really popular as well.
It sounds like so much fun.
It's just absolutely relaxing. I've been on the schooner, for overnight, that same schooner actually, not for a knitting cruise. And it's amazing when you're on a schooner for a few days. Has anybody else done that?
And my in-laws aren't knitters, but we bought them a photography cruise on the J&E Riggin. It's a Christmas present, and we gave them the cookbook.
I love the cookbook. And actually, I know Annie, who was the former captain, and John were good old friends. And you really feel like you're outside of time, is all I can say. I had my knitting with me. I'd like bring my little bag, trundle it up to the deck every day, and I'd like sit there, and before I knew it, I would just realize I was sitting there watching the scenery go by at like 1 knot an hour or whatever we were going. And I'm like, oh yeah, I could knit. But it was just so peaceful and so fun on that boat too. The food is amazing, and you can kind of have the fun of helping out in the little galley or just not. My husband is a big doer, so he would get up in the mornings and like go down and see what was going on, and if he could chop something up or something, and I would stay in bed.
John and Annie had it when they went on their cruise, and I thought we were going to have to pry my father-in-law off the boat.
Oh,
He did not want to get off. They had such a great time.
and they have such a way of like making their passengers feel like family. And that's what Annie would say to me. She would say like, this is our home. Like, this is our summer home. We are living here with our daughters. We're having you as our guests. And she really felt like that.
Their girls must be getting grown up.
They are very grown up ladies now. I think one has a partner. I don't know if they're married, and I'm not sure what Ella is doing these days. But yeah.
Wow.
Does anybody have any favorite like knitters that you watch or listen to or follow on either YouTube or Instagram, or favorite knitting book? I just always like to hear what people find helpful and interesting.
I like the Yarniacs podcast.
I've listened to a couple of those.
I like Petite Knit. Is that?
Yep.
I like everything she does. I love.
Does she have a podcast, or just like it's patterns? Yeah.
It's just patterns.
So cute. Like the Sophie scarf.
Yes. Yeah.
I watch Arna and Carlos.
They're funny.
I love Arna and
Aren't they
Carlos.
great?
Mm. Oh, I like Susan B. Anderson, her to follow on Instagram.
Okay. Arna and Carlos, I started watching them during the pandemic and they were doing that pandemic podcast. That was my first introduction. I think I stumbled upon them. I was looking for some knitting tutorial on something and I saw their, and I thought, oh gosh, that name's familiar. I think a friend of mine had mentioned them also. And I just was totally charmed by their little videos and just like, I felt like this was my boys would tease me because they'd be like, Mom, this is sort of like your version of watching YouTubers who are gamers, like, you know, where they record themselves gaming. And it's like they were like, this is your version of that. You're just like watching these two guys talk about their knitting and their lives and their dogs and yeah.
For those of you who've been knitting for a while, do you have a favorite go-to reference? You know, a book or video or something for when you like, oh, I haven't done one of those in a while. I think I need to look this up again or something.
I like Very Pink Knits.
I was
You
gonna
took
say
it right out of
same
my
thing. Very
out of
pink.
my mouth.
Yeah.
Yep, very pink.
Because she'll do things in slow mo. She has slow motion videos.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I need.
She's starting, I think, quite a few slow motion and is willing to take like recommendations, what people want to see her do. So
Oh,
she's really
excellent.
good.
I haven't been doing this long enough other than scarves to really find out who I should be listening to, looking at, following. So this is really great. Thank you.
I keep a little book with me called the Knitting Answer Book. And it is, about yay big and about this thick. And if you need a quickie answer to something, I like to keep that in my bag.
Okay, so that's small enough to fit in a project. Your project.
Absolutely.
Cool.
We may have that one. I'm going to look it up right now.
And I bought Patty Lyon's Book of Tricks.
Oh, do you
Mhm.
like that? I've seen a lot.
Yeah.
I haven't used a lot of it yet, but I have it to look at when I need it.
I'm going to put the link to that knitting answer book because we definitely have a couple of copies in the shop. Patty Lyons, what I like about her book is it's kind of funny and I love the illustrations in the book. I find extremely helpful and, you know, certain nuances and fine tuning of my knitting that I sort of didn't even really think that maybe there was a way around a certain problem or behavior in my knitting. So she's pretty great, I think, at shedding light on you know, ways that we could do things better. And also she's so big on the understand the why and then you can really get it. I just love that way of thinking.
I think she helped me with gauge,
Mm,
like to make big gauge swats and not just measure one little, like a 1 inch and think that you do have gauge then
mm-hmm.
kind of concept.
I also have to say that although I think I conceptually have understood the right leg of the stitch versus the left leg of the stitch in terms of which leg you want over the front of your needle. It was not until Patty's book with the illustration of the stitch that was sort of like on a horse, so it looked like a cowboy. And so there was like the left leg was over and the horse was going this way, and then she inverted it so it was like going the wrong way and facing backwards. I mean, I don't think I'll ever forget it because of that illustration.
And I think I've used the chili dog.
I know that.
I think that's her name. She has a video about eliminating the armhole holes for your stitches and where to pick them up. But
Okay.
you don't have the holes. I think I've watched that multiple times in succession.
Okay.
And she has a YouTube channel. She's
Uh-huh. Okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
The Patty Lyons book you can also get for Kindle if anybody uses a Kindle, which makes it really easy for people like me who are going back and forth, and I can't always transport a bunch of books to go with all of my yarn that I transport back and forth. So having a Kindle, you know, and loading it up with the knitting books and patterns is really
Mhm.
a good thing for me.
Are there a lot of knitting books on Kindle?
There are quite a few.
Oh, cool. Oh,
It's
cool.
amazing. And then the patterns I get in Ravelry, I put on Kindle. And then if I stick it into Knitting Companion, you know, that links right there too, because I have the Knitting Companion app on my Kindle.
Hmm.
Oh, cool.
and yeah, Very Pink Knits does how to use Knit Companion.
Really?
Oh, she has quite a few videos on working through. Yes,
Oh, thank
Hmm.
you.
on working through Knit. Yes.
Can you talk about Knit Companion? Because I've not used it.
I like it because it's great for a work in progress if you have a chart, because it retains your place forever.
Wow.
So you can pull it back out. And you can enlarge the chart
Hmm.
on Knit Companion. So you can actually see it. And there's a guide so you can keep track of where you are. in the
Very
row,
cool.
How many repeats you need. But there is kind of, I think, a learning curve with it.
Hmm.
I've used it several times and I still feel like I haven't scratched the surface as to how to really use it.
That's why I sometimes go back to the Very Pink Knitting or videos for
Thank you.
because if you don't use it regularly,
Mhm.
then you forget.
Hmm.
But I love it for charts. And you can put the number, like if you have a certain number of knit stitches, you can make them a certain color. And I think if it's more than 3 stitches, it will show you on the chart that you need to just knit 3 or 6 right here. So you don't have to go back and count.
Oh.
It allows, I don't know if you can see this or not, it allows you to import directly from Ravelry
Hmm.
patterns that you've bought. And then let me see if I can just bring up a it allows you to mark on your pattern exactly where you are. And so
Amazing.
if you're doing something like the papillon shawl, where every single stitch is different, bless its heart, you know, you can just go ahead and move that so that it shows exactly where you are.
I love it.
Do you folks have a favorite app for listing the yarn that you have?
I use Ravelry.
Okay. Some people save money for retirement. I saved yarn. So, you know, knowing I would do something with it someday. That day has come.
There's a knitter who comes into the shop and she is a spreadsheet gal and she created a spreadsheet for her yarn inventory. And I was like, oh my God, you are my kind of lady. But no, I have not cataloged what's in my stash.
I think I would be too scared to.
I was gonna show it to my husband,
Exactly.
so he'd be fine with it.
This is how Jax helps. Now I have.
Well, I think number 6s are the sweet spot for this Sophie scarf for me. It's definitely growing a little bit faster. And it's the 7s were just too loosey goosey, but I think this is just right.
What's the needle recommended for the shift?
For the shift, it's 5. Yeah. Mhm. And when I saw that, I was like, really? For fingering? The original pattern is written for sport, but I thought, and so I tried. So I didn't start on a 5 with fingering, just wondering, and I ended up going to a 5 just because the pattern, it lends itself to having not space between stitches, but the smaller needle size was definitely not the right thing for it, and that was pretty obvious quickly.
Does it matter on the shift? Like this yarn is 2-ply, it's fingering.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is 1-ply. Does that matter?
That's the fun thing I think about it is I don't think it does, like where it would matter in a different pattern. I'm using 2 single plies and 1 double ply. And I think
Mhm.
it's kind of neat actually to see a little bit of it. Like, I mean, you're not gonna see it when I'm wearing it, but I think I like how it looks. So people are kind of getting free with it and just trying stuff as long as it's the same weight. And we're,
Yeah.
grab 1 skein of this and 1 ball of that, and yeah. it's
I
fun.
forgot that I made that her hat of that pattern a couple years ago. It was just 2 colors though,
Mhm.
not 3. And it was fun.
What were your colors for that one?
It was a variegated kind of a blue and white, and it was Barocco yarn. I forget the name of it. And then I think I used navy for the other color, but you would, but then some people made it with like the other color is the background, and then it comes out completely different.
Totally.
Yeah. And when I first saw the shift, you know, a couple years ago, I thought you had to use, I didn't know you could use solid colors in it. I thought it was all those spin cycle, whatever they are, variegated, but it can be anything.
And I was saying to I think that the color choosing is a little bit daunting for this one. And in part, I
Yeah.
wonder if it's because that hers in the image is that spin cycle where it's almost hard for your eyes to parse out what is happening in the pattern because there's so much visual going on. Like I almost thought to myself, maybe she should have also included a picture of like, the neutrals that we were looking at and when I showed it from my phone, just so your eye can sort of tease out what's going on a little bit easier. But
Well, Susan Anderson she did a kit. She sells yarns also. She did a kit with solid colors. She has 3 kits that are always on her Barrett Wool Co. And I looked at those on Ravelry and they come out really nice. No, nothing's variegated. It's just the 3 colors.
That's why looking at the projects on Ravelry are so helpful.
Love it.
Yeah, but
And go ahead.
the one thing I really wish is when people do samples or test knit for the designer, I wish they wouldn't, some people don't include notes when they do the test knit. And I think the notes are helpful when somebody's test knitting a pattern.
Oh, definitely. Also, the one thing I like about the shift when it's knit in the fingering and is a little bit smaller, like the one we have in the shop, is it's basically like you put it on your neck and the thing styles itself. I mean, I think the same thing goes for the slightly larger one, but I like it that there's nothing to wrap. You're just like tug it over your head and like I look fabulous. And it's a fun one for that for sure.
If only that would work with every shawl we make.
So now are you going to have Zoom with the shift?
Yeah, we felt like it was a really fun part of this one because it kept us connected with each other. Not that the shift itself it's not as demanding as the Ramona. There's fewer parts. You're going to learn the stitch pattern. It's going to get, it's a fairly easy one to learn. Technically, I think, but I think the community aspect is the part that's really fun. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll stick with our Wednesday Zooms and our Sunday in-persons in the shop.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of fun to build out our virtual communities. And we get to learn about cool things like Chili Dog. I never heard of Chili Dog knitter person.
Yeah, I have a Mobius work in progress that I think I started with, and it was a chili dog pattern.
Hmm.
And that was fun to learn how to do that.
We're thinking about well, actually it's in the works. We've been talking for a while about a beginner knitters class, and trying to figure out the best way to do it, and multi-session or more of a workshop, in-depth kind of thing. And so yeah, it sounds like that's going to be in the works. I'm not sure when it's going to start, and obviously you folks in this group don't need a beginner knitters, but I think it's going to be really nice because it's something that we get asked about, like, do you offer beginners classes? And Miranda's going to be the one teaching it, and some of you who know Miranda know that she is like absolutely lovely, will be perfect for that. So yeah, you'll be seeing stuff about it, I think, in the newsletter probably coming up once we get some a date nailed down. But I think the format is going to be one day where there's like a 90-minute session in the morning, and then a lunch break and a 90-minute session in the afternoon, thinking that makes it easier for people to, it's a one stop, one day. You don't have to be worried about committing to too many things going on. So we'll see how that goes, but yeah. Well, I see the clock is coming up on a little bit after 6. It's a fast hour, Bev. You said
Yeah,
it
it
last
can't
week.
be. It just can't be.
And who knows, maybe by next week we'll see Teresa in her sweater. Maybe. Good. Well, next week, I believe, is our last Zoom for Ramona,
Very
which is
sad.
weird, but yeah, if you want to do the next knit along, there is a sign up on the website, on the events page. If you have pop-up blockers, like we were saying, that can impede your ability to fill it out. If you're having a problem with that, you can certainly always email me and I'll just direct add you to the group, and that'll be that.
Yeah, I tried to sign up after we met last week and I couldn't get in either.
Okay, so I'll add you for
Thank
sure. Mm-hmm. Great. All right, friends. Well, I hope you have a really good evening tonight.
Thank you. You
Thank
too.
you.
We'll see you next
Have
week.
a good week.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.